Hey, what's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? What's up? I almost started getting on beat with that thing. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 20. This is the 20th episode of Hidden Gems, man. It's pretty wild. Shout out to everybody, man. Shout out to everybody who's been spreading the word about the series and all that good stuff, man. Like I said, 20 episodes in, man, and we just keep coming up with new stuff, good content, all that great stuff, man. So the song playing now, this is Takuya Kuroda. Everybody Loves the Sunshine. Let me see, I'll flip the camera so y'all can see the screen. Yeah. Super dope, super chill, all that good stuff. So yeah, man, today we got coming out of Philadelphia, my main man George Burton is here, and we're gonna bring him in real soon. I just wanted to send a special thank you and a special shout out to our sponsor, Shannon Shannon Fashions. They've been doing masks during the quarantine, and definitely gonna get George a mask cooked up. And if you guys want a mask, you could get one for a discount. You could just go to my page. The code right there, Shannon Shannon Fashions. It should be in my bio. And you type in Gem7 and you could get a discount on the mask. So, yeah, without further ado, let me add my man George in here. All right. Yeah. Vibes, man. Vibes. All right. So, yeah, I hope everybody's doing all right during this time, like I've been saying, and all that good stuff. If you guys have people that you want me to bring on to the series, please let me know. That would be great. Anybody you want me to bring on would be dope. Yo,
what's up, man?
what's going on, brother?
Living life like everybody
Man,
else. Living life.
Yes. No doubt about it, man. It's definitely an interesting time that we are in.
To say the least.
To say the very least, man.
Yeah, if we can get a little under that, we'd be good to go.
Right. Yeah. Man, I mean, I always try to start with how cats are doing during this thing. So I guess you want to fill the people in what you've been doing, how you've been doing. And it's all right. You can give us the real answer.
Quite honestly, these last 2 months have been probably the most interesting 2 months of my life mentally. It's just a wild time with everything that's going on, and to be honest, the first few weeks I did absolutely nothing. Just sat around, checking out the scene, reading a lot of articles, reading up on everything that's happening, that's not happening, what's happening behind closed doors, as far as politically and everything. But just kind of hanging out, trying to figure out what's next for us,
Right.
Like
Yeah.
as from the musician standpoint, from the artist standpoint, from the standpoint of just being just what are we going to do next and how are we going to go about doing it, which is something that's been on my mind a lot, as with everybody else.
Right. Okay. Yeah. It's the first, I think I want to say the first week and a half. It was kind of like, for me, it was like, I just wasn't in a space to check in on people. I wasn't in a space to.
I think everybody went through that. Everybody was like, who do I call next? But I don't really want to talk. I don't even know what I'm going to do. How's this going to lay out? I mean, every single person I know.
I was going to say, I don't know about you, but I felt like everybody was kind of like, some of my friends were like, all right, time to get to work. And I was like, what? Work? What is work?
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. They're like, yeah, let's get back to doing this. I'm like, well, it's like, for me, it was like, what is your goal now is going to be? It's like, usually where we're at, it's like, hey, I need to write this music for this gig coming up, or I need to check out this music for this gig coming up, or 3 months down the line, I'm trying to book this gig, or 6 months down the line. You always have something to look forward to, and all of a sudden you get to a certain point where you just, during this time, you just stop and go, wait, I have nothing. For me, it's like I have nothing to push towards in that way right now. So it's, when's the next gig? It's like, I don't know. When's the next time I need a deadline for music being written? It's like, I don't know. It's like, when is the gigs that I'm going to book 6 months to a year from now? It's like, I don't know. So it's like, you just stop,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's that, part of the hustle, I think, in this thing was, especially as a band leader, was, I mean, a lot of the time was spent, emailing clubs or trying to email,
Right,
festivals and
right.
booking things. And with that, not even a possibility on the horizon right now.
Right. Yeah. We can't see. I was, talking to a lot of people. I said my biggest problem right now is I can't see forward. I don't see what's in front of me anymore. So it's now you have to look at it from a different perspective of trying to figure out what the possibilities are going to be in this new world, whatever it
Hmm.
may shake out to be, which we
Yeah.
still don't know to this day, so.
Right. Right. Yeah, man. Well, I definitely, I'm trying to use the people around me in a sense of, and when I say that, I don't mean like literally using. I mean using them as like inspiration and being like, you look, if you keep fighting, I'm gonna keep fighting. You know
Well,
what I'm saying?
I'm-
You keep doing stuff, I'm gonna keep doing,
well,
but not in a bad way. Just like
no.
yeah,
And like you just want to keep going. You want to keep moving
yeah,
forward. You know what I mean? It's like nobody wants to sit still and be like stuck in
yeah,
that
yeah,
spot.
yeah, yeah.
So
At the same time, making sure that I give myself the room and the opportunity and the understanding that if I'm not productive in a day,
right.
it's not the end of the world. I
No, no,
think
no,
some
it's not.
yeah, I think sometimes we put pressure on ourselves, like we gotta constantly be at it. And I mean, and we do to a degree, but at the same time, man, we don't build enough rest in ourselves.
This
And
is
then,
this is
we get tightness in our bodies, we get, mentally we get a little thrown off because it's like
right.
we're constantly going. Sometimes you got to take that break and you got to take that rest and give yourself time to catch up to what's happening.
Right. I mean, that's definitely the case. I mean, I think we're all going through it. I was talking to an art teacher, a friend of mine was an art teacher who, we're like in a freelance thing and we're like doing what we do, but she has a, legit job and everything. And we're talking about what's going to be the future of art in general. And from her perspective, it was like, how do I teach my kids about art? And as in like any art form, you talk about music, you talk about dance, you talk about theater, you talk about anything that requires a live audience. How do I teach them about this and keep them engaged in this and keep them wanting to do this? And there's this thing that's happening right now, so it's all interesting, with
Yeah.
everybody, no matter who. It's just interesting.
No, no, yeah, for sure. No, no, for sure. For sure, for sure. I mean, honestly, a part of this whole broadcast, this whole thing was like, I was like, well, what, thinking in my head, okay, um, what what always brings you back to center,
Right,
and
right,
what focuses you, and it's like it's the music. And
right,
I mean, even before the quarantine, I had a little playlist, and I would whenever I heard cats would drop an album, I would try to take put their album
right.
on there, check
And
it
check it
out, and
out. Right,
and, and
right,
try to make sure that I'm keeping up with the scene around me.
right, right.
As well as all the homework of the masters and this and that.
It's a lot of
Uh,
work. It's a constant
yeah,
struggle to keep up with everything.
yeah, exactly. But I felt like it was important to my musical development, and like I said, just it's some great music, that just
Right.
kind of gets swept under the rug because we don't have the PR that
It,
a lot of
it's
a lot of that you need in order to get the
That's
thing going
that's
on.
yeah, that's a lot of it. It's that's a lot of it. As I've gotten older, I started to understand the idea of PR and how important it actually is.
Right.
Just to get people to check it out. And releasing albums. I'm only on my second album, but just getting somebody to put it out, and you have to keep hammering people over and over and over just for PR, just to like get above that watermark. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah, no doubt, no
it's
doubt,
tricky.
man. Well, man, we're gonna I mean, again, we just gonna jump into it, man. This first track really I wish we could listen to the whole thing, but
It's
we
long. Yeah.
definitely catch it. But if you could start, it starts with the words of Marshall Allen.
Yeah.
If you could talk about that relationship a little bit. Um,
Um, for like this last 7 years, I played with the Sun Ra Orchestra off and on, and Marshall Allen, he's right now he's the director of the Sun Ra Orchestra. He's been for quite some years now. And I used to, touring with him all the time. I used to always listen to him talk, like everybody be talking and doing their thing, but he was always talking and saying something. I used to be like, this dude right here is talking about it where it should be coming from and how he should be going about the music itself. Not from the way that, I may have learned, like from school, like this needs to be in place, this needs to be in place, but from the perspective of like us as individuals and how it should make us feel and how it should make us respond to things. So,
Hmm.
we were on tour last year for like 2 months, and I brought him to the room quite a few times, and we just talked about music and life, and he was telling me all types of stories. Now, this is somebody who's 95 years old at that time. It's going on
Yeah.
96. He's about to be 96, but it was
Wow.
just like, wow, this, I'm gonna put this on the album. I mean, this works. This is what it's about, at least from my perspective.
Definitely, definitely, man. Well, we're gonna start with this first tune, Gratitude. Can you tell us maybe, the thought process when you were writing this song?
This particular song, I mean, the album is called Reciprocity. So it's, if you know about reciprocity, it's the gift of giving to others for mutual benefits, and we can talk about all that. But this particular tune, I'm always with this whole album, I'm always doing it from two different perspectives, like two different voices. So this first track has like a call and response, but more of a conversation with just like one word at a time, or one, in this particular case, one note at a time, until you get to this point where you have this understanding of what it all means together.
Mhm.
Does that make? I'm not sure if that makes sense. It's a lot.
No, it makes sense. Yeah, definitely. I hear that, man. Well, we're gonna check this out. So check this out, everybody. This is the album here, Reciprocity, and I'm gonna pull it up on our screen as well. But make sure if you haven't checked it out yet, you can jump out this thread, go get the album, come right back, and yeah, man, just checking this out. This is the first track off of Reciprocity, Gratitude, and we'll get into it a little bit, and then we'll stop. If you guys have questions for George, or if you have questions for me, put them in the questions box on the bottom of your screen, and yeah, let's check this one out. Here we go.
But you playing music and it's a lot of energy and you affecting folks.
Woo. Yeah, man. Man, like I said, I love that bridge, man. It's so beautiful, man. Hauntingly beautiful. I love.
I'll take that. That means it's gonna stick a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. It sticks to you, man. It sticks to you heavy. But
Yeah.
um, can you talk a little bit? I want to go back a little bit. Tell us about your childhood, growing up in Philly. How'd you get started on the piano, all that good stuff?
You know what? You want to hear the interesting thing about me getting started on the piano? I actually grew up playing violin and viola, classical violin and viola. So it's like I did all that with the classes. I did a lot of orchestras. In high school, I went to the Creative and Performing Arts in Philly, and I was like the concert master for a few years. And I was really deep into that. But I actually grew up under a pianist, who's my dad, and a violinist. So I always played piano the whole time. It was one of those situations where it was like, if you're going to play violin, you got to play piano. If you're going to play viola, you got to play. It doesn't matter what instrument you play. You got to play piano to have a larger foundation. So I did that, and we also, they were really in the church. My dad's a church pianist, and I just was around music the whole time, but I wasn't seriously playing piano. In high school, being that Philly is what it is, we had a bunch of cats that came to my high school. One being like Jalil. We're the same age, but Jalil Shaw.
Word. Shout out to Jalil, man.
He came to the school, and he came in playing, and I was still playing classical, and I was looking at this dude like, yo, what is this right here, So he was at the school, Bilal was at the school at the time. It was a bunch of us, and it's in that time, it's something happened.
What school was this?
Oh, the Creative and Performing Arts.
Gotcha.
In Philly, yeah, it's a lot of cats out of there.
Is that the one that Quest and them went to as well?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
cool,
they're the generation above us by some years. But we all went to the same school. But I mean, it was for me. It was like I started playing piano because they were like, "Yo, there's no piano player, and we don't really need a violin player."
Right.
And I was in the joint like, "Nah, you ain't gonna do that to me." I'm like, so I thought I was gonna be like, jazz violinist, but I kept getting pushed over like, "Yo, don't you play piano too?" And I was like, "Damn, like again." So it kept going on, and I just was like, kind of like fuck it, like I'm just keep it moving at that point. And I just got into piano, and ended up going to college at Temple for piano, and then from there it just kind of I was in. That's just what I did. So.
Got you, man. And then everything picked up. When would you say what year would you say you started your professional career?
I would say like 99, 2000.
Okay.
I'm old. Right. I'm older than people think I am. It's always interesting. They're like, you're like 25. I'd be like, yeah,
that's what you want to.
We go. Is that a gray right there? Let me pull this out before somebody see it real quick and shit.
No, I mean, it could work in your favor, man. They put you on a rising star list when you 55 years old anyway. So.
Look, man, everything they say matters, right?
Right. I feel like this is the antithesis to that,
Yeah, exactly.
Like, hey, we're just gonna play some good music. I don't care who you are, as opposed to, like I gotta get names, what I mean?
Yeah, man. In a perfect world, man.
Yeah. I know. I hear you, brother. So with the personnel for the album, man, I feel like everybody brings this. Again, certain albums you can feel kind of the disconnect with the musicians and the people.
Right.
Does that make sense what I'm saying?
No, I know what you're saying. You listen to some albums and you can tell they're just playing the music, and there's certain albums and they have it intent, like they know each other musically, harmonic, like the whole thing, and then they know each other personally, and you can hear it within the interplay of albums,
Right. Yeah. So how did you go about picking your personnel for the second record?
Well, the second record is pretty much the same exact personnel as my first record, just a little bit different. Tim Warfield and Chris Hemingway are on both albums. I've known Tim Warfield since I was 16, 17 years old. Yeah. So as I got older, I started, throwing gigs, and he was the first cat that was like, yeah, cool, let's do it. So he was in. And then I had another band that I had that was like more rockish and everything, and Chris Hemingway was in that band. And with this particular album, all I did was kind of like smush them together, you know what I mean? Yeah. The drummer, Wayne Smith, we've been hustling gigs since, 98, 99 together. Right. And, that was my dude. And we did Sun Ra Arkestra together for years. We played in each other's bands for years. So he's one of those cats that nobody really knows about until they know him. And then they're like, yo, who is this dude? But he's just on a different scene, but we have that relationship, you know. We just know each other.
Gotcha.
Pablo Medeiros, he's been playing in the band for about
I
5 years
love
now.
I love Pablo, man.
Pablo, he's
I
that
just met him.
dude.
I did a tour with him in January
Uh-huh.
this year, man, and man, like a bad cat, man.
He's
Bad
a
cat.
super bad cat, man. I'm like, how does nobody know about this dude,
Yeah.
man? He's like so
Shout
far
out.
on it, you know. And we had a good relationship 5 or 6 years, and he joined the band when the bass, it was like one of those Jones, like the bass player was like, yo, I can't make it,
Mm.
and he was like, yo, I can do the gig, and then it was just like,
We going in another another direction creatively.
yeah, it was like, you know, sorry,
Yeah,
bro, man.
yeah, that's real, man.
But
You know, we actually have a good question here. Yeah. So it's I was gonna actually ask you about this, but like you talked about working with the Sun Ra Orchestra, you know, and what are some of your favorite Sun Ra recordings?
I don't have a favorite recording of anything. That's just me in general. I'm just
That's
like
real.
really, I'm just kind of really weird like that. But I
Mhm.
mean, you know, it's over the years I've heard, man, I've heard so many of these recordings. Being in the band and having to go back and check out a lot of these uh tunes. You know, when I got into that band, which is like I've been off and on for years, but you know, there was so much music that they played that spanned the years because we're talking like 60, 65 plus years that I had to go through and like check out, you know, Rocket Number Nine
Yeah,
from like 19 this, and then check out Record Number Nine 15 years later to check out Rocket Number Nine, and then you had to go back and go through all these different recordings. So I don't really have a favorite because I kind of like everything, and that's how I actually approach to like every artist that I actually check out. You know, it's like I kind of listen to it all. I don't like say this is my favorite recording here and this is my favorite because as artists they go through different sections of their careers and they sound different at different points and they try to
yeah,
get to this then, they try to get to that then. So it's like I try to check out everything I can if
yeah.
possible.
And life circumstances too, man. That'll really
Well, that
change your
dude.
whole shit up.
Well, dude, it has to. You have to.
Yeah,
You know, you got a bad 10 years. You might be playing the most ridiculous shit, and it's like
yeah,
you got a good 10 years. You
yeah,
smooth jazzing it out. So like you know, you got to just kind of check it all
yeah.
out and see where the path is. But I mean,
Definitely, definitely.
it's a lot. You know.
It's funny, right? You know, I mean, I'm from Chicago, and Chance the Rapper is big out there, you know, and
Oh man, that dude is huge.
right. But like when he had the baby and he got married, it's like everybody's like, "Yo, your music don't sound as dope as it used to," you know,
Yeah,
like, and it's
yeah.
like, man, this man got to struggle in order, you know. It's
Yo,
interesting,
he
man.
not clawing anymore. You know, he
He
like
not
laying
he
down. You know, he's not trying
it's
to claw to the
yeah.
top. He cool now. You know.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting though. That struggle can bring out some good things, you know. I mean,
It does. I mean, if you
it
check out
yeah,
a lot of classical composers that came out of like Germany and all that during you know World War II,
yeah,
you hear like some ridiculous, like you hear the tension, like a certain type of tension that goes in how
hmm
they build tension, and then you know you hear like the clusters that they started using, and it's in the voicings and everything, and it's. But I'm going, oh, that's what was happening at that present moment in time. That was happening during that era. That was a lot. I mean, we're talking World War II and people living and you know composers living in Germany and all that. So it's interesting, you know.
got you. I see that fan question there. We're gonna come back to that. I wanted you to talk about now the last person that I think maybe joined the band. One of the last people was Alexa Barchini, the vocalist.
Yeah, she's
Um,
got.
yeah, so um, a beautiful, pure voice. But can you talk about maybe how you guys met and what you did you hear her sound over the music? It was like I just gotta, you know what I mean?
No,
Because it
well, I
seems
mean,
like a very specific pairing.
well, I kind of seeked Alexa out because I was going through this thing where I was like, man, I'm looking for a vocalist, but I have a certain particular sound in my head. So like a bunch of cats, like Pablo being one, was like, you got to check out Alexa, and I was like, all right. And then my dude Wayne was like, yo, you gotta check out Alexa. I think that's what you're looking for as far as this particular idea. And then a couple other people was like, you gotta check out Alexa. So one day, you know, I went down to it was the joint on. It was a smaller jazz club. Like it just closed like a year ago. But I went down. She was singing there.
What
You go into
neighborhood?
the restaurant up in Manhattan, around not that far from Smalls. You you go. It's
Okay.
like you go down the stairs like a restaurant. You go down the stairs.
I know what you're talking about. I don't know
Uh,
the name of it, but I know
yeah,
what you're
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about.
yeah.
Yeah,
And she was
yeah.
so she was singing there, and it was winter time, and I was like, well, let me go check it out. And when I listen to somebody, I listen to somebody for how I can use them in my music, if that makes any sense. Like I don't listen to like, but I was just listening to how she, just how she would go about it, and her voice quality, and like her ideas, her spacing. Like that's what I'm listening for when I listen to people. And I heard what I needed to hear, and then it's then some year like a year later, I started putting this together, and I hit her up and was like, because it's stuck in my mind, like that's exactly what I needed for this particular sound. Stuck in my mind. I hit her up and was like, "Yo, can we do this?" And she was like,
Word,
"Yeah."
word.
And she's from, she went to Temple, so like, that's my. I was like.
Temple is one of them schools. It's a couple of schools where the cats they really look out for each other.
Yeah, yeah,
Berkeley for
right.
sure.
Yeah,
Berkeley is
they
one
have a
like
clan. Yeah, they have a.
The Berkeley cats they stick together. Now
Yeah,
you might work with a Berkeley cat, but
I.
if you work with a Berkeley cat, it's at least two other Berkeley cats that is in
That's
that
dude.
group.
I've
And that's
all these years I've been doing. I'm
yeah.
like, oh, y'all are from the same joint right
Yeah.
there. Like,
I mean, Juilliard kind of does it, but like I said, they don't got
right.
the same brand
No,
loyalty.
but yeah,
Um,
yeah. Berkeley definitely has that.
Manhattan
Yep,
School of Music kind of does
they
it, but
have it.
Temple is another one
Well,
that they
it's a
got.
Philly joint, man. We like, nah, man. We y'all do y'all. We got it over here,
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's interesting.
Philly stick together hard, man. And
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
that though, man. I love that because again, man, the only way to push is with as a community, man.
Well,
It's one thing.
it's
It's one thing if I'm saying, hey, check this out. But like,
right.
even with Alexa, it was like, you know, Wayne said, check this out. Somebody else you trust said, check this out. And it's like, all
Right.
right, well, you know what I mean?
No,
Like
that's how
just
it
a little
works.
push. Just a
Yeah,
little
that's how it works. I
push.
mean, I mean, I trust their judgment. I mean, it's like, when I get my band, like, I'm like, yo, what do you think about this tune? What do you think about that tune? What do
Yeah.
you like? It's not, I never look at it like, it's me and all my ideas and anything like that. I'm always like, yo, what can we do here? Like, because this is like cool, but, and it's like, we just trust each other more than anything else.
That's beautiful because I know a lot. I mean, some band leaders they're like, listen, this is what we doing. You
I
see,
know. Man, being a piano player, man, all these years, it's like I've been in a lot of those bands, and it's just like,
yeah, yeah.
yo,
Like
this is
play
it.
this,
Right, and
play this.
I'm like, so I'm a little
Yeah,
bit different. Because I think rhythm section players are a little bit different because we're all like, we've been in so many situations. We're like,
yeah,
we're,
yeah.
you know, you know,
Shout
so
out to Jonathan Blake. He was like, Philly cats don't mess with George.
uh, tell Blake he can tell him I see him later.
Yeah, I got you.
Tell
I
him I
got
see
you.
him later.
Well, you know what? We're gonna play this going. I'm gonna start around the end of the first track.
Okay,
And so everybody could just hear how Alexa kind of floats into this next track.
that
And
ethereal
so
thing, yeah.
this is the end of Gratitude going into Finding. Can you talk a little bit about Finding? And there's also a video for Finding as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's a video for Finding. So the end of Gratitude and Finding they're actually to be together. And the idea of that is like you have a certain thought or a certain phrase I like to look at it as a thought. You have a certain thought that sticks in the back of your head and it continues on to a new idea. So you're building off one idea, going into another idea, all in the same thought. And Alexa did an amazing job, killing that, just making it happen.
That well, we about to check this out. Like I said, Alexis has such a beautiful voice that she just floats through this record. So we're going to start at the end of it, going into Finding. And this is again George Burton's Reciprocity. If you haven't checked out the record, please go get the record. It's so good. And here we go. I hope I started in the right place. I think I did. All right. I'll do that. We got to let you ride for a little bit.
I always keep pressing rewind. I keep going, man. Let's listen to Alexa a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Yeah, she's pretty bad.
Woo, man, so bad, man, so beautiful, man.
Yeah, she's killing.
I mean, the whole thing too, man. I love how Wayne is just painting over everything. You know,
Man,
I mean,
yeah.
it's not like he's being mad aggressive about it. Like, but
Right.
it's just this. It's like a
And the subtleties.
It's like a church whisper. You know,
Yeah,
your mom,
yeah.
if you was talking in church and your mom be like, "Hey, I told you shut up."
Yeah, right. You remember
like,
that.
It's
with the
mad
pinch,
aggressive.
right?
It's
with
mad
the
aggressive,
pinch.
but man, yo, so bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Just painting all over that thing.
Yeah, it was, it's like when it's interesting because like when I was writing these tunes and I was thinking about them, it's like a lot of these tunes, is I constantly get in the habit of thinking like, how am I going to approach soloing over a tune like this without it sounding cliche? Like the cliche lines, the cliche, or just a cliche of approaching how to play over something like that, where something, in her particular case, it was so pretty, it's like trying not to like stomp over it with just craziness or lines or just trying to stay in that place with it all, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense, definitely. You talked about how classical music, you grew up playing classical music. How does classical music play into your writing process?
It's my writing process is interesting. So there's been three gigs, or there's been two main gigs that I had for like years and years and years. So when I first jumped on the scene, I was playing with Odin Pope. Like my first gig with him was like at the Blue Note. It had like, it had the names that was on it was ridiculous. So I played with him for a long time before I like actually really, really started writing. And the other gig that was opposite of it was actually a classical gig. It was an opera gig called Vanquery that I played for about 10 years. So I was playing, with Odin, who's considered more on the avant-garde side of things. And the other side of things, I was playing with a straight up opera that was a little bit different than a string quartet. Had a women's section, had a whole choir. And the music was insanely hip. And a lot of this all started staying in my head, and understanding, trying to fit it all together. So it was it's my writing process has a lot of I have a lot of different ideas that go on in my head at one time, and my thing is like, how can I make a voice like this sound still not be interrupted, but the cat can still play over that, like at the gratitude, Tim is like licking, and you have this voice that like rises above it. So I mean, a lot of my process is bringing as many different sounds and ideas into the fray without it sounding cluttered, without it sounding lame, without it sounding, cheesy, if possible.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, definitely, man. Cool. Okay, now we can get back to this question. It was a good fan question. Let me find.
Oh boy. Well, it's not somebody I know, is it?
It wasn't. Nah, it's nothing too
Is
crazy.
Blake,
So,
is Blake gone? You know, we
but
can get rid of him. That dude, man.
yeah. All right, here we go. So, what is your favorite festival you played for, and can you tell us the story behind that?
Favorite festival? Oh man, I can't even answer that. All right, so you've been out. You know how many festivals there are, and there's some
Yeah,
bands. So I've done a lot of these festivals a lot of times. Like I've done like North Seas a few times with a few cats. I've done so like my favorite festivals are the ones that all the cats are there. You can hang and you can still party. So you get to,
yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
You get it all.
Right, right,
Yeah,
right. It's not like,
for
you go
sure.
to Europe sometimes, you get to one festival, you don't know anybody there but the cast of the band. But like certain
Right.
ones, like Newport has that, North Seas has it, Montreal Jazz Festival has it. A lot of them where it's like all the cats that you know are there now from the States, and it's like we can hang, we can play, we can support each other. It's all good, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's
definitely. That's a real
those.
one too. And because you get to hear people in their moment too as
Right,
well.
right.
You,
Well,
you know what I'm
that's
saying?
important. That's like insanely important for me because it's like we both go to the sessions, and I like when I go to sessions where I see people playing certain clubs, I never consider that like their thing. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah,
You have to separate them from that particular venue, let them do what they own do, set up their own setups, bands that they want to get, and really hear how they're really interpreting ideas, how they're really interpreting music, how they're really going about. That's it's those are the best places to hear them, in my opinion, too.
yeah. I would agree with that as well for sure. Um, so we've been like I said, since we've been in this quarantine, I feel like musicians have learned a lot of lessons. One of the lessons I learned is that I need to diversify my portfolio, right? You know what I'm saying?
I think everybody
This,
learned that lesson on this
yeah.
one.
I think
I don't think it's a
this
musician thing either.
this mute. I love. I'm always gonna have. Music is always gonna be there. You know what I'm
Right, right,
saying? But
right, right,
but when the gigs, when the gigs dry up, the crazy thing about it, I got my degree. I got my bachelor's in music education. So
right,
my fallback,
right,
and
right,
to a
right,
degree,
right,
I'm a great teacher as well, but like it was always like, well, if I'm not playing, I can teach, and I can teach at a high level because I could play at a high level. You see what I'm
right,
saying?
right. No, I know
That
exactly what you're saying.
I never wanted to be one of those educators where it's like I hate the phrase "those who can't do teach." That's bullshit.
That's
If you
absolute bullshit. Well,
yeah
I grew up under teachers, and I'm like, that's bullshit. It's
yeah that
everybody teaches a little bit. Everybody,
if your teacher can't do it, they shouldn't be teaching you how to do it.
that's exactly true.
That's
I mean,
you know
I had this teacher. A bunch of us had this teacher, Christian McBride and Joey, and all of us had this teacher called Mr. Rogers, who taught us. And the thing that I learned about him is he was the cat, cap of playing, teaching us in orchestra and everything. But this cat would go out and play gigs too, and write his own arrangements, and he was still at it. And it was like
mhm.
always like, see, that's how you do it.
Yeah,
That's how you do it. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
because you're still working on his
Lead
while
by
he's
example. Lead by
exactly,
example.
exactly, exactly.
And so yeah, man, I talk about that all the time. The minute I get my college course, I'm telling you, the
Right, right,
scene
right,
101,
right,
that's all
right,
it's gonna be. Hey cats,
right,
welcome to the scene 101. I'll see y'all Thursday at this jazz club, or I'll
right,
see y'all
right.
Friday at this
Well,
gig.
I
Like
mean,
we
that's
hitting
how
it.
it's supposed to be. I mean, because when I was at Temple, I was there during a time when it was like, there was this club called Ortlieb's Jazz House, and there was this other thing going on called the Black Lily at the time, and then there was South Street Blues. So like, I would literally go to school, and then like as soon as big band was done, I was out. So
Yeah,
Tuesday night, I'll be out. I'm straight to Black Lily. I'm checking out that straight to, and that was always refreshing to see like a teacher or two like at one of these joints, checking out the same
yeah,
thing I'm checking out.
no
So it's
doubt, no doubt. I mean, even as students, man, it was like I mean, I remember in college, me, Marquise Hill,
uh-huh.
Ryan Neither, my boy John, who was in here, John Moore. We would
Right,
like
right,
we would get through with school
right.
and drive an hour and a half to Chicago to
That's how
go
you had
check
to
out
do it.
who was ever was playing. Whoever was the
Right,
least tired to drive. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right, right,
We go see Von Freeman on Tuesdays at the apartment lounge. We go see
right.
Bobby Broom hit at Pete Miller's up in Evanston. All these spots, man. And I feel like a lot of times in school there's
Mm.
we get into this bag where, you know, it's like, yeah, you need time to work out the music, but you also need time. The scene will inspire you to put
It
the
does.
time in to
It
work
does.
out the music.
Well,
It's a cyclical, you know.
it was at 150%, because what you saying that, like, like what I remember in school, I was like, this is the school thing, and then I'll go to, like, the Orleans, and I would check out, like, Shirley Scott. I would check out, her son Duck. I would check out Mickey
Right.
Roker. I was there checking out Sid Simmons. Mike Boone. And the thing about that is I always think about this, thinking about when people talk about albums and everything. It's like so many people, when they go to reference music and what they've checked out, it's like, oh, I've listened to all these albums, and these are the cats, these are the cats, these are the cats, so those are the cats for them, because that's how they listen to music, that's how they learn music. In my particular situation, I was going to the clubs and be like, yo, did you check out, what Sid Simmons was playing on this? Did you check out how Miss Shirley Scott was doing this? Did you check out how Miss Trudy Pitts was doing that? You had, like, Sam Doherty, and then you had, like, rhythm section players that came out there, like Byron Landom, and you had Mickey Roker, you had, like,
Byron, that cat.
man, you have all the Byron, like, there's Byron, and then there's all the cats that came under Byron. You talk about, like, Rodney Green, you talk about Jonathan, you talk about Justin Faulkner, you talk about Wayne Smith Jr., you talk about, so, it's like, it's those, for me, the cats I was checking out at the clubs who had already done it, they were those cats, was the ones that I was like, that's where I'm following. Because that's what I know. Like, I have 15 billion records, but I heard this all the time. That's, as you were saying, was the most inspirational thing I could ever
Yeah,
heard. It was just like, cool.
that's
That's
yeah,
what it
man.
is,
For me, man, going in and hearing, Bobby Broom kick some ass, I'm like, man, I need to try to,
Yeah,
you
you
take
keep it
it,
moving. You go home
make
and
your,
you like,
yeah, make a little bootleg, see what the cats is
yeah,
playing, and
yeah,
you learn your lesson from it. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But what would you say for you, man? What's been the toughest lesson learned as a musician? You could talk about either during this time or just in general.
I mean, in
But
general, it's just to keep it going, keep it moving. You know what I mean? I always find it funny. It's like when cats, like, when everybody's like, Philadelphia, from Philly, George Burton, and it's like kind of like, I've been in New York for like 17 years. And, like, in those 17 years, you learn a lot of lessons about you just got to keep moving, like, no matter what. It's like there's gonna be times when it gets, messed up, and you're not making the money that you want to make, and gigs come and go. That was, like, the hardest thing I had to learn, is like gigs come and go, and it's not even a thing. It's just like, they just come and go. So you got to figure out a way to keep moving, keep making money, keep the hustle going without being just, frustrated or, um,
I got you.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes when the lows are low,
It's
it can
low.
be you
It's
know sleep. You losing sleep, and
Yeah, and
you're
that's
not you
and that's
when
that's all that
yeah,
before this. That's before this. This will be in a whole different world now. But that's like before this, with this
yeah, for
whole,
sure.
So when I told Cass that, I'm like, yeah, back then it was hard then. So this is just, it's not as hard as it was. Maybe
I hear
it's
what you're
just
saying,
different.
man.
Just keeping it moving.
It is different. It is vastly different.
Right.
I'm very curious. I think this is my personal opinion. I think the audiences will want to be there.
Oh, they'll be there.
When this thing is over,
They'll be there.
figuring out. I'm a little concerned. I mean, now they're saying, like, Italy is basically opening up their country to travelers except for America. You see what I'm saying? And
Right.
I think personally
Yeah.
that we might be opening a little too soon as a
There's a
country.
well.
But
There's
right now it's like 50 little countries. Everybody's kind of opening at their
Well,
time.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's what we are. I mean, let's think about we think about Europe in the way that we think about the states. Italy is the size of one of our states. You look at, so you have all these. So for Italy, they may be open, but, like, for us, it's going to be a mess. Let me just say that it's just going to be a mess. There ain't no way
It's
of
it's
rationing.
it's
It's just
it's,
a
it's
mess.
not looking great.
It's just a
You know.
mess, man. I'm like getting into all this. I'm like, you know what? Ain't nothing to get into. It's just an absolute mess. Like, fuck it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
like I said, I'm definitely looking forward to playing again. But I would rather be safe and not play
Right.
than to try
No,
to
I hear you. Try to.
force the issue,
Well,
and then we end up.
that's the thing. You know what I mean? They talk about second and third waves.
Yeah, Corey saying mess world.
Yeah, man, that's an understatement. That's an
Yeah,
understatement.
but like I said, man, I think now though,
Hmm.
now is the time where we can, like, as a musician community, we can say,
Right.
hey, this is the standard that we're gonna stick to.
You know what?
You
And
know
you're
what I'm saying?
absolutely,
And we
you're
yeah,
absolutely
go ahead.
right about, you're absolutely, I already know where you're going with this because you're absolutely right about that because right now is the time that we start really realizing what has been happening to us all these years as far as like the recording industry, as far as getting paid, as far as,
Yeah,
so now that like we're all in the same boat, if we can work together, really
yeah.
bring the
We
standard of everything up to where we need it to be as artists, as musicians, because what it does now is like not only are we the ones out of work, to be totally honest, yeah, we don't have no work. We're like, trying to put it all together. But the cats above us don't have any work either. So therefore they've
right.
lost their leverage to a certain extent also. That's just being
Yeah,
straight and plain honest as far as
yeah.
booking agents and things of that nature. But this is our chance to get together. I mean, Spotify and Apple and all those, they're not really doing much for us as jazz musicians.
I mean, that's
You
the
know,
thing, man. It's right now. It's like every musician in the world, every single jazz artist is operating as one entity. You see what
right.
I'm saying?
No, this is
It's
when we
like,
need to this is when we need to push it up.
and and the funniest thing about it is that the genre of jazz in general does
Uh-huh.
not get grouped as one. Like, nobody will say,
No.
"Hey, I like George Burton, but I don't like this other guy."
Right.
When people hear when people hear instrumental music, and if that shit is whack to them, they like, I don't think I like jazz.
That's right.
The entire
Under that
genre,
under that umbrella.
we get grouped, but we don't
Yeah.
try to work together. We don't talk about salaries. We don't talk about
But
health
that's
benefits.
well, that's
You know,
that's very important. I mean, I mean, I'm always, it's all right. So over the years, you as a pianist, we get gigs or whatever. Over the years, it's like you start learning how to say no to certain situations just for those
hmm
reasons. Like we don't get the salary that we want, and it's a hard thing to do because you're doing it on your own. But it's like if we all work together at it and did it
yeah.
together,
Like, what should be
right,
the industry standard? And like,
right,
and putting cats where it's like, if you a young buck and you decide to take less than that, everybody's like, yo, what's wrong with you?
right,
The
right,
standard is this.
right.
I
I
don't
mean,
care. I
that's
don't care if
that's
you 17 or you 72.
right,
This is
but
what you
that's
should be making, point blank. We come to
right,
a
right,
decision, we decide on whatever that number is,
right,
and that be what it be, but
right.
that the issue
That takes
starts where, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, go
that
ahead.
take no, no. We just got to work together at that,
We got to
man.
work together.
And this is the time to do it because
Yeah.
nobody got nothing to lose. We all got everything
Right.
to
And
win
ain't
from
and ain't
that.
shit and ain't shit to lose. Ain't no
Yeah,
gigs to
right,
lose.
you're right. Ain't no gigs,
We don't
ain't no
have to.
posturing. You're not trying to hustle in
Yeah.
that way. It's like we all broke, so
We don't we don't
let's put
have
it
to
back
play the
together the right way.
right. We don't have to play the political game.
There is
All
no
of that stuff.
political game. There's
Yeah.
none of that.
Yeah.
It's all gone
Yeah.
as of right now to a certain extent. So
Yeah, man. So I want to keep going. I know we got a couple minutes left. I'm always trying to keep an eye on this time.
right, 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 right.
We got about 11 minutes left. So with Turn, again, it was a powerful thing to me. Anything with Marshall talking on it, I'm just
I mean,
like,
he's
this is
that
powerful.
dude. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, he's that dude. I mean, it's straight from how he feeling. So.
yeah, man. And listen, and there's something about the elders, man, when they speak,
Well, that's
in
what
general.
I've had a lot of gigs like that, over the years. It's like, I'm playing with OD Pope. I'm not sure if, Cass know it, but he played with, Max Roach for like 35 years or something crazy. And,
hmm
it's like hearing him talk and like hearing him describe life and hearing him talk about, it was always like, for me, it always sat deep with me because it's like, I always looked at it as like, you always going to know more than me. You've forgotten more than I'll ever know, you know,
Yeah, yeah. I hear what you're saying. And
you
so
know what I
you at that
mean?
point you're just listening, essentially.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
you're supposed to be, at least in I look at it.
right. Can you talk about how I was gonna play Turn into Power a little bit? Can you talk
Hmm.
about how Power came together? Because I think that's I just love the vibe of it. You kind of
Power.
let Wayne do his thing.
Well, that one. So here's the thing. There are three drummers on this album.
Wow.
So Wayne is on this album. There's another drummer named James Biscuit Rouse, who's
Yes,
um
Biscuit.
yeah, Biscuit. Yeah, we went to high school together. We went to Temple together. If anybody knows about him, this dude he played with Lauryn Hill for like 10 years. Like he's like it's what he can do is so ridiculous and it's always straight in the pocket. But with this particular one, it's we started, it's we have a band together, a trio together, and I just was like, go ahead and play, and like we'll just try to fill in the blanks as we go. So there is no changes to it. It's just straight space, as locked in as it feels, as as every harmonically as with all the different things going on. It's to us, I would interpret it as space, and I'm just trying to put on it. It just happened to work out that what Marshall was saying kind of fit into the end space of power. So everybody liked that track more than I even realized they would like it. I was like, okay, this is the idea for what the bit after this. But I mean, it's for us a straight space.
Got you. Well, yeah, we're gonna check this out. So this is a one song turn, which is a little interlude into power.
Good.
And that's Biscuit on drums.
That's Biscuit on drums. Yeah, the third drummer is
Dang,
Bean.
Yeah,
He's
shout
bad.
out to Bean. That's my man. Shout out to Bean. Yeah, man. Okay, killing. Well, we're gonna check this out again. If you guys don't have the album, please make sure after this or during this, you go get the album, check it out. It's super dope, very powerful. And we're gonna check out a couple minutes of that, and then we're gonna finish up, man. This is George Burton's Reciprocity, and this is Turn. Let's check this out.
Musicians have been all over the planet, and so the music is dangerous because it can turn on you. And they say music is soothes the savage beast. You better be ready to soothe the savage beast. You see? Yeah, no, that's true. Because you find it out in reality.
Yeah. Is Pablo still playing bass on
Yeah,
that?
Pablo's on the whole album. Pablo's
Okay,
on. He's that's my dude. He's
say that's it. Pablo.
that's it. It's like Pablo, can we do this? And he like, yeah, I got you. I'm like, cool.
Bet. All right,
Cool.
man. Playing with the Sun Ra Orchestra. I mean, you've had a multitude of different gigs and different genres. I mean, I know you play with Michelle for a minute.
Yeah, I did a gig with her, and
but talking about the relationship with or playing in the Sun Ra Orchestra, what would you say was the biggest lesson you learned from that experience?
that I don't matter.
Okay.
I should explain that a little bit more.
Just a little bit.
I had to leave you on. I had to leave in there for a second and be like,
I don't matter, and neither do you.
Yeah,
All right,
I mean, it's like it's always an ongoing ongoing idea I have in every band or every group I ever play with. It's like understanding what your role is in a particular band, and understanding how to fulfill that role. It's as opposed, and the idea of I doesn't matter when you're trying to really get to the music.
That's real.
And it's something that you can mess up. A lot of cats mess up. I've messed up. And it's like getting outside of the idea of I and trying to figure out where you fit into this particular situation that may not be yours, that you may not have control over, that you can't dictate. It's just trying to really find your role and making sure that you fulfill it the best of your ability. So that was like one of the biggest lessons with that. But I mean that, when we talk about the Sun Ra Arkestra, I don't really feel like that was one of the harder gigs for me actually. Playing with, when I played with Odin for like 13 years, that was interesting also because I had to find a role because his biggest thing was the saxophone choir. And I was like, well, there's a rhythm section with the saxophone choir. And what is my role with like 9 saxophones on the stage? And it's like, my role is to be this, for at that particular point, like to calm, to be supportive for everybody. Every single one of the saxophone players who y'all take like 13, 14 courses at a time, being supportive as best as I can through that whole entire situation.
Right. How well can I listen?
Yeah, it's like, all right, I'm going to need like 3 more drinks and a Red Bull. All right. But I mean, just find that role. And that's in every situation, and I've always had really odd gigs, like gigs that I've done. It's like really been odd. I have to like go, like, what do I do here? Do I just comp? Like the first time I played with JD back in 2005, and it was like, I remember JD was like, I was like, yo, dude, he was like, don't comp. And I'd be sitting there like, this is what I do. This is my, and then he'd be like, all right, comp now. So, and I'd be like, so it was like, I remember that being like, all right, I got to find out what is my thing? And that was a learning lesson too, because it was like, all right, George, you got to chill the hell out and just, try to hear the music the way from his perspective, so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting, man. All right. That you don't matter. The role matters.
Right.
Almost like a team game,
Yeah, that has to be a team game.
Yeah.
I mean, you're trying to get to it the way you want to.
Exactly. Everybody's trying to win. I like that, man. Because a lot of times, when you see a group, it's like, oh, such and so is playing with that group.
Well, I never looked at it like, it's interesting. I never looked at like when I see a group, I don't see names. I always see what they sound like, if that means anything at all, and it's like, I can see a band of like nobody, quote unquote, nobodies or whatever. And I'd be like, yo, that's the most ridiculous because they know how to play together. They have that thing going on. And it's like,
Yeah, that's real. That's real, man. I always tell people all the time, it's like, if you got to give me a group that's been rehearsing together for 6 months in a row, they've been pounding the pavement every day, or you give me a super band with a bunch of names, I'm going to
the rehearsal. I'm number 2 every time.
Cats, give it to me
every time because I mean those big names. I mean not like the big names, but like to a certain extent, like you're still figuring out who each other is, right? It's like we're all all y'all are amazing, but at the same time you're like the super group that have never had a conversation before. So it's like
yeah, man. With the couple minutes we have left, can you talk about the video a little bit? Yeah, 2 minutes. Instagram's right on me.
Yeah. The video. I mean, so this after I put this, started putting the album together. The second song was, trying to tell a story about being older and never wiser. It's like you get in this loop of like repeating yourself. It's like you get older, you think you figure that out, and then you realize, I'm still back where I started at to a certain extent. This video was done by animator, a stop time animation guy named Sigmund Washington. And if you know anything about stop time, I keep saying stop time. I've been saying this to everybody. Stop motion. He's all the animation that's done is done by hand, by paper, cardboard, scissors. And he's doing about 12 to 24 frames per second, and it takes a lot of time, like just tons of time. And he worked amazingly on it and did an amazing job telling the story that we were trying to tell.
That's Sigmund right there. Shout out to you, man.
It's that dude. Yeah. He's that dude,
For sure.
But making sure that we tell the story in the way that we wanted to tell the story, and making sure that we're not like trying to dumb it down or make it too obvious. And I mean, he did an amazing job. I mean, he was at one point he was like, George, sit down and shut up. Like, just I got it. Like I got this. Like I got this. And I was like, all right, I'm sitting down. But he's amazing,
Word, man. Well, guys, I guess that's our time for today, man. George, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for your support throughout the
man. I've been watching all of them. I'm like watching so many videos, and I'm like just to get to know who people are, because when we see each other at like Smalls at 2 a.m, and everybody's in party mode, and I'm like, I know you never really get a chance to see who a person is or talk to them in the way that you want to talk to them and get to understand them. So I've been watching so many videos, so many cats, just to see and learn about a bunch of people because you know,
Yeah.
a bunch of people that you brought on. I was like,
We'll come right back.
Yeah,
Before I
yeah.
cut us off. We'll finish up. Give me 1 second.